My name is Hollis Belger. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Marin County, California, which is right outside of San Francisco. So when I was 9 years old, I started a soccer juggling fundraiser called Juggling For Jude, where I juggled my soccer ball in exchange for donations to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, where kids with cancer are treated completely free of charge, meaning that the parents or the families of the patient don't have to pay for housing, food, travel, or any other supplementary costs, treatment, of course. And so through my soccer juggling, I started to ask people to donate $1 per juggle, a penny per juggle, and I would donate and I would juggle pretty much every single day of the summer for the past 10 years now. And since then, my project has grown into different avenues for impact, such as being an advocate for youth and philanthropy by public speaking to local middle schools or elementary schools, doing a lot of social and educational policy reform, thinking about this idea of adolescent purpose and how to cultivate that using sustainable philanthropic practice amongst our youth. And so that is kind of the overview of my project. Since the start of Juggling for Jude, I have now raised over $667,000. I just got a new donation, so I want to make sure that that number is right. And my juggling has gotten a lot better. So my juggling is now 7,157 consecutive soccer juggles, and that took an hour and 15 minutes.
What was the moment that made you want to start your cause?
It was 10 years ago, but I'm pretty confident in my ability to pinpoint this when this idea really ignited. And I was introduced to pediatric cancer at a pretty young age because my mom in particular had always been inspired by St. Jude, and she had always wanted her parents to donate because she would cry to the Marlo Thomas commercials that she saw on TV as a child. And she felt that it was important that I was exposed to that sort of social issue, and how I was playing sports and doing all of these things with my friends and living my life while other kids were sitting in a hospital bed and they were not as fortunate as I was. And that really struck a chord in me. And I also really resonated with the fact that St. Jude treated kids free of charge. I was always had this weird anxiety about money and financial stability, and if God forbid anything were to happen to me or my sister, would my parents be able to afford it? So for me, knowing that there was a place that is committed to treating kids regardless of their socioeconomic status was very comforting for me, and for so many other people on a global scale. At around the same time, I joined a competitive soccer team, and I was a very technical player. And my coach encouraged me to start soccer juggling because that was a great way to gain control over the ball. I had this aptitude for juggling the soccer ball. I did it before school, after school, pretty much every single day because I just fell in love with it. It became very therapeutic for me. And there was a moment when I thought of Jude and juggling, and I approached my mom and I said, I want to do something with this. I think that there's an idea here. I have this very abnormal gift for juggling, kicking a soccer ball up and down. And I'm really inspired by this cause. And I think that we can put two and two together. And that's exactly what I did. And the rest is history. The first step I made, I believe, was this newsletter that I crafted to pretty much all of my friends and family. I mean, we're talking extended family, teachers, family friends, my friends' parents at the time, and I don't even think I had my own email yet. I was so young, but my mom agreed to send it through her email as like a blast to my community, saying, "This summer, I'm just going to go out every single day and juggle, and I'm doing it for kids with cancer. I would love your support. Whatever, you have, if you want to sponsor me, you can literally give me, $1. I won't care. But I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to get a new record every single day and keep that consistency and that commitment for the kids at St. Jude." My first summer, I believe my goal was to raise $1,000, which is pretty ambitious, raising $1,000 in one summer of a little 9-year-old juggling. And that first summer, I raised over $33,000. And that's when I knew that this was not just going to be a one-time thing. This was going to be a project that I was going to sustain throughout my whole life, and that's what it's become, my life's mission. So I think that that was the first step. I also remember my mom and I crafting a website. That's a little bit more of like a technical thing, but I think that that was like the first thing that I did was this community outreach and getting people aware of what I was doing. I guess technically the first step would be kicking a soccer ball, but
What advice do you find yourself giving to friends often?
to friends, that's a great question. I think that I've always been an advocate for prioritizing yourself in a way that is healthy and that is balanced. I think that a lot of people prioritize relationships or success or achievement or whatever it is before their own self. And I find my friends kind of getting swept up in that a lot. I do it too. This is completely hypocritical, but I think that the advice that I give to my friends is to just take a second to reflect on what you really want. What is this benefiting you? Are you growing in some beneficial way? Is this negatively contributing to your overall mental health, your space, who you are, who you want to be? And I think that that's sort of introspective perspective is super important and something that sometimes I feel like my friends can lack when they get caught up in just all of the external stimulants and pressures of their life. And so I think that the piece of advice that I give them quite frequently that they've told me that that I tend to remind them of is take a second. Is this worth it? How are you feeling about it personally? And always remember to prioritize yourself to a certain, to a certain level, because it's not selfish to do something because it makes you feel good or to not do something because it would make you feel better if you didn't. So that's a piece of advice that I would say I give to my friends most often.
And then where do you see your journey going next?
In terms of where my journey is going to go, I am entering a huge life transition this fall by going to college. And I think that along with that, and growing into a college student, my fundraiser will also grow naturally into my college life. I've already started expanding my project into a more professional relationship with St. Jude. So I now sit as an advisory member on the NorCal St. Jude team to work on engaging the next generation with St. Jude's mission. A lot of their donors are in the older generations, just because of Danny Thomas and Marlo Thomas being very prominent celebrity figures in their generation. Unfortunately, there's not really someone in, the Gen Z millennial era that is kind of the face of St. Jude. And so I am working on how, we can bring things like social media and St. Jude onto social media platforms in an effective way that will get kids exposed to the life-saving work that is happening at St. Jude. In addition, I do plan on continuing to juggle. I've still been doing it this summer. And I'm definitely going to keep and sort of like foster that part of the actual juggling part of Juggling for Jude for sure. But I think as I go to college, I definitely want to expand more in the philanthropic sector and youth and philanthropy in general, continuing to do research on the importance of adolescent purpose and how we can cultivate that in our school curriculums and public school systems, or working with impact investing, taking it in a more financial standpoint and looking at how we can encourage different corporations to develop their B Corp certifications or their ESGs or their philanthropic arms, which is another really big dream job of mine, is to develop philanthropic platforms for large corporations. So I definitely think that I'm going to be transitioning my philanthropic journey into a more professional sense. And then obviously, I say this all the time, but my dream job is to be the CEO of ALSAC, which is the fundraising arm behind St. Jude. So hopefully just continuing my involvement with St. Jude and the soccer community too at the university I'm attending.
Who are your supporters or your rocks, and who allows you to feel brave?
I think I've talked about her a lot, but my mom is definitely one of my biggest supporters and rocks in my life. Also with this fundraiser, so is my dad and my sister. All of my extended family, really. I mean, they're just incredible. Especially my grandparents have made such a big impact on my life. But I want to spice up my answer a little bit, because that can tend to feel a little cliche. For me, my biggest supporters, aside from my donors, I have a lot of consistent, long-standing donors that I am just eternally grateful for. But my rocks are my friends from St. Jude. They are what drives me day in and day out to do this work. And I do something for Juggling for Jude every day, whether that is juggling, sending a thank you email, writing a newsletter, posting something about St. Jude, researching, it doesn't matter. But the reason why I am able to do it is because I am so inspired by the people that I have met from St. Jude. For example, my second summer of doing Juggling for Jude, I met this girl, Kayla, who lived about 20 minutes away from me, and we were connected via a family friend who heard that I was doing this work for St. Jude. And she had just finished brain cancer treatment at St. Jude, and she survived. And we were the same age, we liked the same things, yet her life was so different from mine. And we just created this friendship, the two of us. She moved to Tennessee recently, but we still stay in touch. And she and her family are a group of people that significantly impacted me. And when St. Jude had a face and a name attached to it, and I was finally able to see the impact that I was making on a person, on a friend, it just accelerated my project onto a whole new personal level. Something that is a little bit difficult for me to discuss, just because it's a little hard to talk about. But one of my current rocks is my friend Liv, who is currently undergoing treatment at St. Jude for neuroblastoma, which is a very, very lethal form of cancer. And she is 9 years old, and she is currently battling for her life. Unfortunately, her cancer has grown increasingly malignant. It is not going away. And there is definitely that fear that she is going to pass on. And so for me, every time I touch that soccer ball and every time I do something for Juggling for Jude, I am thinking about her. She is who, she makes me strong. She is my rock. She is a supporter. I support her. I hope that she can say the same for me. All of these lovely patients that I have met, I've, created friendships with a little boy named CJ who plays soccer too and beat leukemia during preschool, or Chandler, who I met back in 2017, who just graduated from Ole Miss University, was treated for leukemia at St. Jude. Or this photo that I have on my desk of this little girl, Carson, that I know her mom really well, but unfortunately I never got the chance to meet Carson because she passed away when she was 8 years old from cancer. So for me, these are my rocks. These are the people that make me strong. And they are my biggest supporters, because at the end of the day, I am fighting for their lives every single day. And what's so sad is that everybody has a personal connection. I will go and speak to a middle school, and I'll say, okay, Q&A time, whatever. And they're like, some of them, if they're really young and they don't really understand, they'll just raise their hand and then they'll say, oh, my mom has cancer, or oh, my grandma died of cancer. And they'll just start shooting off all of these different things. And it's very tragic. But I've then also had people come up to me, at the end when all the kids have left and they're crying, and they say, I had a cousin or I had a friend and they didn't make it. And it is like, it gives me chills. But that's why I'm there. That's why I do this.